The bell above the cafe door rang at exactly 6:42 a.m., the same soft chime it always made, and he didn't need to look up to know it was her. He was wiping down the counter, the smell of fresh grounds still sharp in the air, when that familiar pause followed, the brief moment before footsteps committed to the room. She came every morning. Rain or shine, weekday or weekend, she arrived just after the first rush of commuters and just before the cafe settled into its slower rhythm. She never rushed. She never lingered at the counter either. It was as if she moved according to rules only she knew. He glanced up anyway. She stood near the door, adjusting the strap of her bag on her shoulder, dark coat still buttoned even though the cafe was warm. Her hair was tied back loosely, a few strands already escaping, as though they'd given up early. She scanned the room, not searching for anyone, he thought, just checking. "Good morning," he said. Her face brightened, a small, polite smile. "Morning." She approached the counter and folded her hands together, fingers worrying the edge of her sleeve. "Can I get a cappuccino, please?" "Of course," he said, already turning toward the machine. He'd memorized her order weeks ago, but he liked hearing her say it. It made the exchange feel official, like a ritual both of them had agreed to without discussion. While the milk steamed, he watched her in the reflection of the metal. She stood patiently, eyes wandering over the chalkboard menu she never read, then drifting toward the window. Outside, the street was just waking up, delivery trucks, joggers, a bus sighing at the corner. "Here you go," he said, setting the cup down carefully. "Thank you," she replied, her voice soft but steady. She hesitated, then added, "Smells really good today." He smiled. "Best compliment a place like this can get." She nodded, as if filing that away, then turned toward her usual table by the window. It was a small one, slightly uneven, but it caught the morning light just right. She set her bag down, wrapped both hands around the cup, and stared out at the street as if she were waiting for something to appear. He told himself not to stare. She was just another regular. Still, there was something about the way she sat today, present but apart, like she was borrowing the space rather than occupying it. As he returned to his work, the bell chimed again for the next customer. But his eyes drifted back to the window. She hadn't taken a sip yet. She was just sitting there, breathing in the warmth, as though that alone was enough to start her day. By the second week, her presence had woven itself into the cafe's rhythm so completely that he noticed her absence before he noticed anything else. One morning she arrived 3 minutes late, and the gap felt strangely loud. He caught himself glancing at the door twice before the bell finally chimed. She looked flustered that day, hair damp from the cold mist outside, coat unbuttoned. "Sorry," she said immediately, as if she were late for an appointment he hadn't known they had. "No rush," he replied, meaning more than the words suggested. She smiled, relieved, and ordered the same cappuccino. Always the same. He admired that about her, how she didn't perform indecision, didn't scan the menu like something might suddenly change. Still, that morning, she lingered at the counter after he handed her the cup. "Do you ever get bored?" she asked, nodding toward the espresso machine. He raised an eyebrow. "Of coffee. Of mornings," she clarified. "Doing the same thing every day." He thought about it. The early hours, the muscle memory of his hands, the comfort of predictability. "Not bored," he said. "Grounded. Mornings don't ask much of you." She considered that, then nodded. "I think that's why I like them." She took her cup to the window table, but today she pulled a notebook from her bag. He watched from the counter as she opened it, stared at the blank page, then closed it again. A moment later, she tried once more, pen hovering, uncertain. Finally, she sighed and rested her forehead against the glass. He pretended to wipe down the pastry case just to stay within sight. He wasn't sure when casual observation had turned into concern, only that it had. She wasn't sad, exactly. Just paused, like someone waiting for a cue that never came. Later, during a lull, he brought a small plate over, one of the leftover morning scones. "On the house," he said. She blinked up at him. "Oh, I didn't order." "I know," he said gently. "We made too many." She hesitated, then smiled. "Well, I hate for them to go to waste." She broke off a piece, tasted it, and closed her eyes for a brief second. "That's really good." "High praise," he said. They shared a quiet moment, neither rushing to fill it. Around them, the cafe hummed softly, the low murmur of other customers, the hiss of steam, the tick of the clock above the door. When he walked back behind the counter, he felt lighter, though nothing obvious had changed. Except this, her mornings weren't just passing through his cafe anymore. They were starting to leave a mark. He started noticing the details in the quiet spaces between their words. The way she tapped the edge of her cup when she was thinking. How she always Saturday facing the window, never the room, as if the street was safer than being seen. By the third week, these observations felt less like habits of a barista and more like something personal, though he wasn't sure when the line had shifted. That morning, she arrived with a book. It surprised him, not because she didn't seem like the type to read, but because she rarely brought anything that demanded her full attention. She usually let the cafe fill the silence for her. Today, she slid into her usual seat, opened the book carefully, and rested her hand on the page without turning it. New? He asked when he brought her coffee over. She glanced up, a little startled. Oh, yeah. I keep starting it and stopping. Any good? I don't know yet, she said honestly. I think I'm waiting for it to tell me how to feel. He smiled at that and returned to the counter, but her words lingered. Waiting for permission. Waiting for direction. He recognized that feeling too well. Mid-morning, a couple came in laughing too loudly, shaking rain from the jackets, filling the space with an energy that felt abrupt. He noticed her shoulders tense. She read faster, eyes skimming, as if the words could shield her. When the couple left, the cafe exhaled. She closed the book. Too much? He asked quietly, appearing beside her before he decided to. She hesitated, then nodded. Sometimes I forget how loud people can be together. He leaned against the chair across from her, not sitting, just resting there. You don't have to stay if it's overwhelming. I know. She traced the rim of her cup. But I don't want to go either. That answer said more than she probably meant it to. They Saturday in a shared silence, one that didn't press or pull. Outside, the clouds thinned, light spilling across the pavement. Inside, the cafe felt suspended, like it was holding its breath. Can I ask you something? She said suddenly. Sure. Do you ever feel like you're watching your life instead of living it? The question caught him off guard, not because it was unexpected, but because it was so precisely worded. He took a moment. Yeah, he said. But I think noticing is part of living. Even if it doesn't feel like it. She absorbed that, eyes softening. I hope you're right. When he stood to go back to work, she picked up her book again. This time, she turned the page. He watched from a distance as she began to read, not hurried, not guarded. Just present. And for the first time, he wondered if the cafe wasn't just a stop in her morning, but a place where she was slowly learning how to stay. The morning she asked the question, the cafe felt thinner somehow, as if the walls had been stretched just a little too far apart. The early light slanted in low and pale, catching dust in the air. He was lining up clean mugs when the bell rang, and this time he did look up right away. She stood there longer than usual, one hand still on the door, like she might leave if she decided quickly enough. Her smile came and went. Hey, he said, softer than normal. You're early. Couldn't sleep, she replied. Hope that's okay. Always, he said. He made her cappuccino without asking, muscle memory carrying him through each step. When he set it down, their fingers brushed for half a second, an accident, but neither of them pulled away too fast. She didn't go to the window table right away. Instead, she stayed at the counter, eyes drifting over the shelves, the pastry case, the small plant that leaned toward the sun. This place feels different today, she said. Different how? Quieter. Not empty. Just honest. She laughed lightly, as if embarrassed by the word. He wiped his hands on a towel. I think places take on whatever people bring into them. She met his eyes then, really met him. What if you don't know what you're bringing? He didn't answer right away. He glanced around the cafe, the scuffed floor, the chipped mugs, the familiar calm. Then maybe you're allowed to set it down for a while. She exhaled, slow and shaky, like she'd been holding something in too long. I come here because no one expects anything from me, she said. I can just sit. Be background. He leaned his elbows on the counter. You're not background. The words surprised both of them. Her eyes widened slightly, then softened. You don't have to say that. I know, he said. I want to. She picked up her cup, hands trembling just a little. Most mornings, she admitted, this is the only place I talk to someone. The confession Saturday between them, fragile and brave. He nodded, careful not to rush it. Most mornings, he said, you're the first person I notice. Her smile this time was small but real. I guess we've been keeping each other company, then. Guess so. She finally took her coffee to the window, but it felt different now. Not like retreat, more like choice. As he returned to his work, the cafe filled slowly with the sounds of a new day. And in the middle of it all was a quiet understanding. Neither of them had been as alone as they thought.